Hello everyone, my name is Claudia Correa and today I'm here to present some ideas that you can use with your WhatsApp 7 box. Welcome to Lots in a Box. Let's get started with the Rolotopic cards. Here we have two Rolotopic cards with questions about school, about places in the city. So the idea here is to play a game of Family Feud. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this game show. It's very popular in America. You have two teams. Normally they have five people in each team. One member from each team goes to the front next to the host and they click a buzzer to answer a question. So here the idea is similar. You divide the class into two teams. You call two students, one from each team, and they come up to the front of the class where there is a bell in between them. You ask one of these questions randomly, and the first student to ring the bell and answer the question correctly wins a point. If, however, they fail to answer the question correctly, well, then it's the other team's turn to steal the points. If they answer correctly, they get 2 points. There are also Rolotopic cards with pictures. So here, what would you do? Well, you divide the class again into two teams. One player from Team A would go to the front of the class and choose one of these two Rolotopic cards. Okay, let's say they've chosen the vocabulary. Then someone from Team B will shout out a number from 1 to 6 and a letter A to C. Let's say they say 3A, for instance, which is glasses. So the student then looks at that picture, and the student from Team A has 20 seconds to describe that picture or that item to his team members. So, for instance, glasses, you wear these on your face, you use them to see better, and then their team would have to guess within 20 seconds what they are talking about. Okay, and then this would go back and forth between Team A and Team B. With the same cards provided here, you can also do something different. You can divide the class into small groups. You would go around each group and give them 5 different objects. How would you do that? You would call out, again, numbers from 1 to 6 and letters A to C. So for instance, you go to the first group and you would say 2B, 4C, 5-1, 2A, 6-1. And with those 5 objects, they would have to create a 30-second story. Obviously, they don't have to create it in 30 seconds. You can give them about 2 to 3 minutes to create this story, and then they would have to reproduce the story aloud for the other classmates to hear. And the story can be no longer than 30 seconds. Still with the Rolotopic cards, why not have a role play of an interview, for instance? So you would put students into pairs and you would give them these job openings, let's say, for a summer camp counselor, an extreme sports YouTuber, or an outdoor activities influencer. So what they would have to do is they would have to come up with a dialogue between interviewer and interviewee in which they must use 4 questions given here. So they must use 4 questions from any of these free time activities questions that you can see here for the job opening that they want. So they create dialogue. Once it's done, once you've corrected, they can role play for the rest of the class. But there's more. We also have Rolotopic cards with verbs such as these. For this activity, you're going to also need a deck of subject pronouns, subjects, a deck of frequency adverbs as well, and then a third student who's going to be the shouter. I'll explain in just a second. So call 2 students to the front of the class. Each one will have a marker as they are going to get ready to write a sentence on the board, which must include 3 different things: a subject, a frequency adverb, and a verb. So the student with the deck of subject pronouns will turn one over and say, for instance, Carlos. The student with the deck of frequency adverbs will turn one over, it'll say always. And then the third student will shout out a number from 1 to 6, letters A to B, for instance, 5B. So now the students at the front of the class, those 2 students, must write a sentence correctly with Carlos always, and 5B, the word help. An answer could be Carlos always helps his mother. Okay, and they would have to write a sentence with those three elements on the board. Make sure that the sentence is correct in terms of where the frequency adverb is positioned, and also look for spelling mistakes. The student to complete this task successfully wins 1 point, and the student who does it faster will be awarded 2 points. Then students are encouraged to write a story with this Rolotopic card. So yes, you'll have students divided into different groups, small groups, and they will have to roll the die 5 times to determine a main character, secondary character, the place and time, and a problem. Once they have these 5 elements, they are going to draw or create a drawing of the story on a poster to then be displayed in the classroom. Okay, you have here some ideas. They can either draw the story fully on the poster and then attach their story in writing next to it, or they can even have the story inside their pictures, as you can see, the type of comics. Okay, then you can display them around the classroom. The other students will go, they'll read, and then they can write a short text about which story they liked the most and why. Still on this type of stories, why not do the same for Halloween or Christmas and summer holidays? So you can even divide this among the 3 different terms to have these mini classroom projects throughout the 3 different terms of the school year. The Halloween story, October, coming up soon. Maybe the Christmas story, you can start that at the beginning of the second term in January as to what happened last Christmas, and then looking forward to summer holidays, what's going to happen or what are you going to do for the summer holidays. And again, using the elements that were determined prior with the 5 rolls of the die. Moving along, we also have a group of spoken interaction cards that we can use not only for speaking, which is their purpose, but in other ways. Here we have these 2 spoken interaction cards, and they have both photos. So the idea is that you zoom in on the photo only. So no additional information such as a look at the photo and answer, or number of members, who the members are. That information should not be visible to the student, only the pictures. So you show these pictures for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, you take them away and you ask them questions such as, where are they? What is the young boy doing? What color is Grandpa's apron? And you see how much they remember. Then you show them the information below of who the members are and what they're doing, more specifically, just to also see if their guesses in terms of family relations were correct. If that is the case, if you do ask what do you think the relationship between them is. More unspoken interaction cards. We have these 2 school events, and why not get students working on invitations? So if you want to prompt them beforehand as to writing invitations, making suggestions, etc., have this information for them prepared. One student is going to write the invitation, inviting another classmate to a school event, such as one of these, and then the other student will have to reply asking for additional information or accepting the invitation or declining the invitation. You can also do that same activity with these spoken interaction cards, but this time about Buckingham Palace or Down House, for instance. You're invited to. Or why not even do this as a speaking activity? Practice telephone conversations with this information. Have the student call another asking for information about opening hours and adult tickets. Or have them act out a situation as if they were a clerk at a tourist information office and they're giving information about tickets again and opening hours of these landmarks and of these historic interest points. Giving directions. Well, yes, if you're going to go visit Buckingham Palace, you may arrive to London, not know where it's located. So it's important to role play and to get this functional language of giving directions to your students. What is intended here? Well, It's a fun activity to get students up on their feet. You're going to have one student come to the front of the class and you're going to blindfold that student. And that student's going to have to go somewhere. So what are the other students going to do? Well, at their desks, they're going to write down on their desk, they're going to have a different place in town. For instance, the post office, the cinema. One student will have restaurant, the other student will have train station. You'll assign a second student to be the police officer. This police officer is going to guide the student who's blindfolded to their destination. So if the blindfolded student wants to go to the post office, the police officer must look around, see where post office is located, and then give directions for that student to go there. So you go straight ahead, you take the first turning on the right, it's next to, okay, and then you have to guide the student to see if they make it there successfully. If you have some space and time, why not rearrange your classroom and the desks to pretend there are some streets, create a roundabout, why not, and have fun with this activity. We also have some spoken interaction cards such as these, with, again, some photos. And this is going to be similar to a task that we did beforehand that I mentioned, which is you're going to focus and zoom in on the pictures alone, not providing them with any additional information as destination, people, accommodation, weather, etc. They're going to just have to guess this information. You can give them those topics. Destination, means of transport, number of days. You can give them the topics just for them to guide themselves, but that's all they get. So then they start making inferences and trying to guess where these people are, what the weather's like, what type of activities they did there. And then only after you show them the bottom half with this information and they check to see if their answers were correct or even close. Let's move along to spoken production cards. Here we have some information about specific individuals. And what's intended here? Well, you could get two students to come to the front of the classroom and they're going to carry out a dialogue of giving personal details. For instance, let's look at Olivia's fact file. So the two students are going to ask and answer questions. So, hello, what's your name? My name's Olivia. What's your surname? My surname's Spencer. How old are you? I'm 13, and so on and so on. Meanwhile, the rest of the class has to take note of this information and complete these items that you see here on the right. But this could get confusing at times because some students might hear the information, others might not. Maybe the dialogue's going too fast. So you're going to assign 5 shouters. What is their job? These shouters, if at any given point in time they didn't hear the information or they went too fast in the dialogue, they're going to say stop, rewind, surname, play. So then the dialogue must begin in surname and continue age, birthplace, etc. Again, they continue the dialogue and mobile phone number. Wait, there's too many numbers. I didn't quite hear what was said. Stop, rewind, mobile phone number, play, and the dialogue continues from there. Okay, so they're going to have lots of fun. And again, why only choose 5 students to do this stop, rewind, and play? It's because it would get too loud if we had the whole class shouting this. So only assign 5 students to carry out this stop, rewind, play task and have the other students try to keep up. And again, you can do a similar activity with this spoken production card. Here, let's focus on Granddad. How could we do this? Instead of having 2 students role play this dialogue, why not have 8 students at the front of the class in a row provide this information? So the first student would say, hello, my name's Thomas. And then the second student would say, I'm retired. The third student, I've got short, straight, white hair, and so on and so on. And again, this information may go by very quickly, so you would have 5 shouters to say stop, rewind, play, job. Okay? And it would work similar to the previous activity. With these spoken production cards, we have information on school and school facilities. So here, students work in pairs and they try to complete the information that you see here on the right. Have students sit back to back against each other and then provide each one with a different spoken production card. The other student will ask questions, the other one will answer questions, and the idea is that they complete all this information that you see here, from school name, location, to after school activities. But wait, there's a mystery that needs to be solved. With these spoken production cards, it's possible. One student will have information, for instance, about Charlotte's daily routine. The other student will be the detective. The detective must ask questions with who, what, where, when, how, and why to Charlotte. So the person holding Charlotte's table and routine must answer accordingly to what they see on the information card. However, some information might not even be there. So feel free to make up as you go along. The detective can ask additional questions even so, and help them to solve this mystery. There are also spoken production cards related to houses, but here there's no mystery to be solved. There are in fact houses to be sold. So here your students will become real estate agents. Provide them with some useful vocabulary beforehand, such as fabulous detached house, in an awesome countryside. It's a great opportunity. It's a one-of-a-kind location, for instance. Okay, so get them really into the spirit of selling houses and become persuasive and negotiate. And the other students can even ask follow-up questions like, is the bedroom really, really big? Or how much does it cost? They can even act this out in front of the whole class. Why not? Give it a go. And then we also have more pictures in these spoken production cards, and that's what we're going to be working with here. We can play a game of I Spy with My Little Eye. Let's look at the kitchen. I spy with my little eye something beginning with the letter F. Have you guessed it? Could be the fridge, could be the fruit bowl, or you can also ask the student to describe a physical feature of an item. I spy with my little eye something expensive with a screen on it. Are you looking at the mobile phone? Because that's what I was describing. Okay, you could do that, or alternatively, you can have students write 4 sentences in which 3 are true and 1 is false. They will read it to their classmates and they'd have to choose and see based on the picture which one is false. But your What's Up 7 box also comes with immense flashcards, 100 to be precise. So let's get started on the flashcards. Here we have Unit 1, Hanging Out with Friends at the Park. Students are going to carry out a relay race. So you're going to divide them into 2 teams. They're going to line up, and the first two students will have to run to the board and write a word about anything they see in this picture, okay? So let's imagine student A from the first team runs to the board and writes dog. He then comes running back, tags his team member, and so the second player goes to the board and writes another word, but here's the trick. The second player must write a word beginning with the last letter of the previous word. So if the first student wrote dog, the second student is going to have to write a word beginning with the letter G. For instance, girl. Okay? Make sure that your students are writing words that actually are identified in the picture and not some random words, for example, car, that cannot be seen in the picture. There's also a great variety of different facilities, school facilities from Unit 2 flashcards. And here the idea is for students to guess where that student is. So call upon a student to the front of the class. Give them a flashcard from Unit 2. They have to describe that place for their classmates to guess. For instance, I see lots of books here. It's really quiet. Some students are studying. There is a whole section of mystery novels. Where am I? something along that line. And then in Unit 3, you'll find flashcards about parts of the house and house objects. Here we have a dining room. Your students are going to play a game of ping pong prepositions. So have your students be divided into two teams, Team A and Team B. Give the first student from Team A a ball. This student must say a sentence of what they see, and it must include a preposition. For instance, there is a vase with flowers on the table. And this student then passes the ball to another member from Team B. That student says, there are lemons in the bowl. Okay, they can even create sentences in the negative. For instance, there isn't a rug under the table. Okay, so the idea is that they get really specific with the prepositions and what they see in the picture. Okay, and it'll go back and forth. And if students stall too much, if they go over maybe 5-10 seconds, just award them the other team with a point and move on to the following flashcard. Then we also have some very insightful flashcards with chores, which we know our students love. So, and here, why not explore these chores better with a miming game or charades? In this activity, students mime a chore that is given to them, that is provided on a flashcard for their classmates to guess. This can also be done with the sports poster, also found in your WhatsApp 7 box. And then, why not play a game of Thingamaplace? I'm not sure if you've heard the word thingamajig, which refers to something, well, we don't really remember the word, but we're thinking of the object, we can visualize it, we can see it in our head, but we don't really remember the word anymore. So we tend to say, oh, that thingamajig. Well, here, we're going to play a game of Thingamaplace. A student is going to come to the front of the classroom, he's going to be given a flashcard, and then they have to describe that place. But instead of saying, for instance, pet shop, they would have to replace that word with thingamaplace for then other students to guess. For instance, I went to the thingamaplace the other day to get food for my dog. There were many toys for animals at the thingamaplace. In fact, did you know they sell turtles and birds in the thingamaplace? And then students would have to guess, what is the thingamaplace? Or where is the thingamaplace? And also still with flashcards, we have numerous holiday activities, summer fun, and hobbies, why not? Here we see table tennis, but this unit actually has 15 different flashcards to choose from. The idea, scatter around the 15 different flashcards for students to see. Divide them into small groups. These small groups have to choose 5 different flashcards and then incorporate them into a story about their summer holidays. Whether or not they feel comfortable using the past simple or be going to future tense, you can assign them a task of what they did last summer or what they're going to do this summer as a follow-up. They must use the 5 different flashcards though. That is the idea. And still in your WhatsApp 7 box, we have an array of posters. You're going to have an array of posters, and one of them includes a map of the USA and also of the United Kingdom. So let's say we wanted to explore the USA. Why not give students a class project, for instance, in which they have to choose one of the states and create a mini fact file for that state, or a mini presentation about that state, because there are many different things that are very curious to each state in America. For instance, this would be the perfect time to explain to your students that Washington, D.C., the capital of the USA, is actually located in the state of Virginia. However, there is a state on the opposite coast, the West Coast, called Washington. Okay, so they will find out some very unique characteristics of the USA and then present it to the class. The same can be done with the United Kingdom. We also have a poster related to hobbies. And with these hobbies, what you can do is you can explore them and use them once you've taught also adjective prepositions. And then get students talking. For instance, I'm really keen on dancing. I'm not very good at playing the guitar. I'm fond of playing video games, let's say. So they would use adjective prepositions and align them with hobbies and then present to the class. Or you can even carry out a class survey in which students ask each other what they like, don't like, what they hate, what they really enjoy doing, and then present these results to the rest of the class to find out if any of them have even similar interests. There's also a very useful poster in your WhatsApp 7 box, and it has to do with irregular verbs. This, in my opinion, should be visible and exposed to students at all times because we know that it's something difficult for them to memorize. So with this, I would recommend have your students, for instance, carry out a weekly assignment, maybe as an extra credit or a homework task. Every week, students will choose 4 verbs from the irregulars list, and they will have to write sentences in their notebook. Okay, be sure to check this information and make sure that this is being followed up every week. Okay, and or you can also have students, why not, create sentences and then write them near the poster. For instance, you would choose 5 different students, and that week you would assign them each a different verb. They would have to come up with a sentence, and you would maybe with blue tack glue it next to that verb. For instance, I was in Paris last month. He became a member of the science club, just so students can also see how this verb can be used in actual context. And also, we have a poster on shops and means of transport. Focusing on the shops, I would recommend you to bring in some realia if possible. Why not maybe some magazines, some food items, clothes items, even some fake money, monopoly money, if so. And here you would have your students act out and role play going to the shops. For shyer students who might not want to be exposed to this, you might want to do a writing task first. Why not in pairs or groups of 3, for instance? Have your students create a dialogue at a shop, at the shoe shop, at the supermarket, why not? And then role play, okay? Bring in an apron, bring in a bell, fake money, and have students explore this in a fun way. Well, I hope you enjoyed your afternoon here with me today. Thank you for listening, and tune in for more because we have lots of other ideas that are available with your WhatsApp 7 project. Thank you for listening. That's all for me today.